So, welcome everyone to today's learning objectives, and we are going to talk about what's new in Adobe Acrobat. And there's not a ton new, but it is a jarring difference if you haven't looked in Acrobat in a while, or you have the old version and you opened it up and it said, "Do you want to update?" And you said yes, and all of a sudden you were faced with a very different looking product. So, first off, I wanted to make that warning that these are live demos. This is my actual computer and my actual stuff. I do not sell this product. So sometimes it doesn't work the way that it wants to. In fact, Acrobat is a resource hog on your computer. So it really does, if you feel like it's slow, it probably is. If your computer is older, it can be pretty painful and slow up and not do a great job, but for the most part, it works. And that's been a long time coming. The other thing I want to mention is that, again, if you've got Acrobat and you're subscribing to it and you open it up and find that the interface is completely different, this is something I can show you how to revert back to the old version, but it is a very different looking product, to the extent that if you do a Google search for new Acrobat interface, you're going to get a lot of people. I thought it was funny that there was an article, "The 4 terrifying words enable new Acrobat." People were not happy about it. Acrobat has a weird habit of changing interfaces dramatically with no warning and no opportunity to kind of test it out. They just give it to you, and then if you don't like it, sometimes you can go back. But the way Microsoft has been doing it, they give you the option to look at the new one and then revert back if you don't want it. Acrobat goes with a different direction, not always met with approval. The other thing is we're going to be talking about Adobe Acrobat, the paid product, not the free reader. So the free reader is certainly useful and has a lot of ways you can use it, but this is not the tool that we're going to look at in terms of thinking about using it for your practice is going to be a paid product. And to make matters a little bit more confusing, there are a lot of paid products. So if we go over to the Acrobat website, they have all sorts of plans. You can see, and they have nice little charts that you can see functionally what you can and can't do with different versions. So the free reader, which is something that most people have, you can view, print, and share documents, but that's basically where it stops. Then with Acrobat Standard, this again is a subscription model, and then they've got Pro, which is another subscription model, and then Teams. This is for up to, I think, starts with 5 users for the team plans. And as you can see, the list of things you can do grows and grows and grows. So if you go over to view plans and pricing, if you're a sole practitioner, then you probably want to look at the tools for individuals. And the Pro plan is around 20 a month. You can get better pricing, but that's the standard pricing. And then Acrobat Standard is $12.99 a month. And if you think, well, what do I need Pro for versus Standard? Because that's a lot less expensive. And this is for a single user license. You can see that you can compare PDFs, you can redact, you can turn scanned documents into editable, searchable PDFs, which you cannot do in Standard. So for attorneys, I don't even consider Standard the right tool at all. It just doesn't do what you need it to do. When you move up into the business versions, they have more features, but still Standard is lacking in some things. You do want this integration with 365 and SharePoint. So for the teams, if you get Standard for Teams and you can just change your quantity here, it's $14.99 a month. It's $23.99 a month for Teams with the license for multiples, and they do have a free trial. And as you see, the list of things that you can do grows. And in fact, if you click see all features, that gives you a sense of what you can do. So they don't have the comparison anymore for the standard version, which kind of irks me. They seem to have pulled back on the feature set for standard to the point where it's not something that I think is all that useful for an attorney. But again, you can go over and kind of check out which one you think you want. One thing to be aware of is that if you're using an older version of Adobe Acrobat, the paid product, if you haven't been subscribing to it for X amount of dollars per user per month, then, and you've got a version like Acrobat 20, which is the last time they had an install product, the end of support is coming next year. If you have 2017, you're already out of support. If you have 10 Pro or Standard, 11 Pro or Standard, 9, all of these are no longer supported. So one of the risks that you run into with having products that are not supported anymore is you no longer get security patches and updates. So it is possible that you open a PDF that has some sort of executable or damaging code that runs behind it. And if you're in an unsupported version, that could actually wreak havoc on your computer and expose you to unintended consequences. So I tend to want people to get a supported version. A lot of times people will buy a product like a Fujitsu ScanSnap. It used to come with a standard license for Adobe Acrobat, but when they went into the subscription, they started getting rid of that and used an alternative product. So check your version, and that's usually under the file menu, and you can go to the about and see what version you have and consider whether or not it's being supported anymore. We are going to talk about alternatives to Acrobat because, as you saw, this is not a cheap product. And so you have to question, am I going to be using all the features and functions that it has? Is it worth it for me to pay an exorbitant price, like twice what Microsoft 365 business standard plans cost you, that include a whole lot more tools? But why are we talking about this at all? For those of you, again, who have entered the brave new world of e-filing, having a tool that lets you manipulate PDFs, combine documents into multiple, take multiple documents and combine them into a single PDF to be able to add bookmarks, links, all that kind of stuff is really important. The other reason that PDF as a format is so important is because it allows you to um, convert documents to a PDF format, which is a standardized format. You can open it on multiple in multiple places with multiple pieces of software. So for long-term storage of documents and emails and anything else that you would create a print copy of, it has a long shelf life, longer than other products. So if you've got a 7-year retention, 6-year retention, or longer, converting all those documents to PDF is probably a good idea. Someone mentioned they purchased a ScanSnap and they got a year of Acrobat DC. So ScanSnap is still coming out with that. I do think they've switched over to the Kofax as their product. Kofax has now changed its name to Tungsten because in technology, nothing ever sits still. But if you've got it, just again, make sure that you know when it expires and that you're using the supported version. So Adobe Acrobat and other similar products, what they are not is a word processor. You don't open up Acrobat to create a document, start typing along. I mean, you could, but that's probably not the use case that you're ever going to meet up with. You can mark up, annotate, and comment on documents. You can add interactivity. You can add security. You can redact files, which again, with e-filing is very important that you use a tool that will redact effectively. Drawing a black box over a document in Word and then saving it as a PDF doesn't actually redact the information. The information is still there. Even if you print it to PDF, it's still there. So I have, if you're interested, and I'll add the article on redaction. You do have to use a redaction tool to properly redact. And then you can do all sorts of things with it. You can go through massive e-discovery files. You can do all sorts of things. But that's not to say that that's the only product on the market. So what we're going to focus on today is what's new in Acrobat. And again, they changed the interface about a year ago, and it was quite jarring because it doesn't look the same. So I'm just going to walk through what that looks like. So I'm going to fire up Acrobat here. So I have the latest and greatest version. And when you open Acrobat on the desktop, the software itself, it looks pretty much the same as it did before. When you open up the main interface, this shows you recent files that you've worked on. And now I have this synchronized with my Microsoft OneDrive, but it shows you the PDFs. They stay where I put them in my system, but it highlights the documents that are PDFs. And so this looks the same, and you can get started right away doing things. Create a PDF, combine files, request these signatures, organize pages, all that kind of stuff. If I click on See All Tools, again, if you know what you want to do and you're going to do so right away, we're going to open a PDF. We're going to organize the pages, things like that. All of that is there. You will notice there are two new AI assistants, one AI assistant, one generative summary. It's all the same tool, really. But if I go back over into Home and I open a PDF, if I select the box, you'll note that again, I get a lot of redundancy in the tools here. I can share it right away. I can request an e-signature. I can edit it, export it, organize the pages. So, just by selecting a document, you can go ahead and get started either on the right-hand side or across the left, or across the top rather. And then you'll notice on the left-hand side, my files, my scans, things that have been shared by me, shared by others. Under agreements, this is all the documents sent for e-sign. So everything that's ever been sent out for e-sign by me or sent to me, things that I have in progress, things that are waiting for my signatures, what's been completed, and there's other things you can do with this. And then where I store files on my computer and again in my OneDrive. So that's all on that first page, and it looks pretty much the same. But then when I open up a document, this is when it gets pretty different from an interface perspective. And so we can kind of look through, this is a PowerPoint, and you've still got your tools here on the left-hand side. You've also got this floating toolbar. And so if you mouse over, you can select text, you can add a comment, you can highlight text, you can do some of the, and if you click here, you can customize this toolbar and tell it which things you want to have in this little floating, what they call the floating toolbar. The other thing is they've moved another toolbar to the far right. And I'm going to kind of shrink this up a little bit so you can see it better. They've added, like if you this makes me crazy. Like the other day I was going through and I was going to extract some pages from a particular file. Used to be the page numbers were at the top of the page, so I knew what page I was on. Now they're over here in the right hand side, so I can type in the page number I want. It shows me the page I'm on, the number of pages in the document. I can go forwards and backwards in here. I can refresh the document, resize it, zoom in, zoom out, but they've moved things over into this very, very narrow little menu over here that I find is very hard to use. If this has comments, which it does, I can click over here and I get my comment summary. I can jump to comments, so if that's something that you do for a review where you have people commenting, you can do that. The bookmarks for your document have moved over here. This one doesn't have bookmarks because it was a PowerPoint presentation. If you have a Word document, it probably has some. This is your add and delete pages. This shows you background layers, which for most of you is going to be irrelevant. But let me go back into Home and I'll pull up a Word document. When I pull up a Word document, one thing you're going to notice is that this AI assistant pops up, and we'll look at that in a second. Some other things I want to show you. Again, now I'm in a Word document. I'd have to click back on all tools to get my toolbar up. You've got this floating toolbar and you have this right-hand toolbar. So I do not love this. I will be honest with you. If I scroll through the document, one thing is, remember I said if you had a Word document and you've used styles, then you probably have a table of contents in the document. The bookmarks are automatically created from the table of contents, which is very convenient. You can edit these and you can add them. If you click on this, the three dots means there's more in the menu, which is pretty common. You can change, the bookmarks, expand them, collapse them, highlight where you are. Uh, you know, Bookmarks are very handy for getting around a long document. So it is absolutely worth adding if you've got something you need to be able to let someone click through really quickly. It takes you to that area of the document. One of the things that I'm using a lot is this Find Text or Tools, because I don't feel like navigating the 450 menus on this. So if I know what I'm doing, say I want to run optical character recognition, I just type in OCR and it brings up the tools that I might want. If I don't see the tool I want, click more, and it's going to give you all the things. So if you know what you're doing or you know what you want to do and you don't feel like navigating all of these menus, you can just type in what you want in the search and it'll take you to that. And then the AI assistant, you can pop it up and say, run OCR. And it says, this document doesn't so it doesn't really help you, even though it suggests that it might help you find how to do something, it doesn't really. It has a totally different purpose. The other thing to be aware of in a PDF document is that there's a right click menu. So the other thing is I can right click, it's got the AI stuff, add a comment, add a bookmark, take a snapshot, insert text, edit text, request signatures, sign. So there's different things. Note that if I select text, then another little menu pops up because it assumes you want to add a comment or highlight the text. So we'll highlight it, but if again I select the text, I can add a pop-up note. So I get a different contextual menu when I right click, depending on whether I select text or just click somewhere on the page. And these are attempts to understand what it is I might be doing with this document. Now, one thing to be aware of with Acrobat is that they also have a browser version. And so if you want to use the browser version, like so many of the products that we have on the market today, there is a browser version and an installed version, and they look very similar, but not 100% the same. So if I click over into the browser version, you'll note I'm going to acrobat.adobe.com. I am logged in on my desktop version. So if we look at my desktop version, you'll note that up here, there's a little icon. I'm logged in with my account here. If I go over to the browser version, I am logged in as well. So all the information, no matter which version of the product you use, whether you're using the installed product or the product in the browser, it's all going to give you much the same functionality, which is a little bit different. Used to be the browser version was a lot less functional, but it's still not quite as robust. But as you can see, remember in this interface, I've got this toolbar over here that I can toggle on and off. In the browser, there is no toolbar. So it gives you, again, you kind of need to know what you're doing again, which is why search is your friend. But you do have all this one little narrow menu here and this narrow menu here, and then oh, there's my all tools. So this teeny tiny little button, I can find that other toolbar. Then it's got edit, convert, e-sign. So it's pretty much at this point, and this is why the change, they're very, very similar in terms of whether you want to use the browser or the software that's installed on your desktop. The reason that you want to probably install it on your desktop is because you, up to this point, and I hope remains the case for some time, you get toolbars in the Microsoft Office suite. So I can go into Word, and I'm just bringing up Word on a different screen here. And this is Microsoft Word. And you get a toolbar. So when you install it on your desktop, you get a toolbar in the Microsoft Office suite. So I get Acrobat, and I can create a PDF. I can create a PDF and share via Outlook. I can do mail merges. You get a whole bunch of stuff built into Word, built into Outlook, built into PowerPoint. So for that reason, I suggest that you install Acrobat so you get all the toolbars with the Microsoft Office suite. The other thing that I've run into, and I'm not the only one, is that some of the features don't work. And of course, when I was trying to recreate that experience for you today, then I couldn't find any that didn't work. But the other day, I tried to insert a signature stamp, and it said this feature is not available yet. So if you find this interface too jarring or things don't work the way you want to, you can take yourself back to the old interface. And so if I open up this new interface and I go into the menu here, if I click on disable new Acrobat, it'll take me to the old interface. And then once you've done that and you say, well, I want to mess around with the new interface, then you can click on enable new Acrobat. So you can flip flop back and forth. So they automatically put you in the new interface, but if you hate it and you find it too jarring, I've been using it for, I don't know, I guess 8 months. So I'm kind of used to it. But I will tell you, my usage of Acrobat is not what it used to be. And if I had to use it every day, day in and day out, I would probably have long ago disabled the new Acrobat because having that right hand menu is just not effective visually for me. So a couple of questions in chat. Simple way to send out an engagement letter to be signed. You can use, if you don't want to pay for Acrobat, there are other e-signatures on the market and e-signature tools like HelloSign for doing that. If you're using Clio has a way to get a document signed. They're actually integrated with HelloSign. But HelloSign, I think, is around $15. And you're still going to probably need a way to manipulate PDFs. So you have to kind of, again, we're going to do some back of the napkin math and figuring out what's going to be the most effective spend for you. Microsoft Copilot does not work with the new Acrobat. So it just works in Microsoft Office tools. But like I said, there is the new AI assistant, and I'll show you some examples of what it can do. So one thing that is new in this version of Acrobat is creating a web form. And so I think that this is actually very useful, because if you think about forms that you send to people in Acrobat previously, you would go into a document and open it up, and it would be a form, and then someone would have to have reader at least in order to fill out the form. And if you didn't actually make it a fillable form, they would have to do a lot more. So whether you send it out as an e-sign document or as a form, then they're still going to have a reader to open it. So one of the new things that this interface has brought is web forms, and they're pretty easy to create. So I'm going to attempt to show you how to do that. So we are going to go to All Tools, and I'm going to create a web form. This is going to open it in the web. So now it's opening the browser version. This is something that you cannot do in the software itself. So it's going to have to open over there in the web. Let me show you what one looks like real quick. So I just did this thing that was hanging out on my desk, an appliance bill of sale. And when I send someone this, I send it as a link, and they don't have to have reader. They can open this on their phone easily. They can open this on their desktop. They don't have to have any particular product to open this up. It just opens it as a web form, and then they can fill it out. So that is something, and this, because it's automatically identified these, that's just something that I think is a little bit more user friendly. And so in order to create this, I opened to create a web form. So we're going to name this now we're going to see how well this does. I have picked a very sophisticated form, and I've already got the document, so I'm going to pull it up from my desk. So this is an intake worksheet. Oh, good grief. Remember I said live demo. Let me just drag it and drop it. And what it's doing is it's taking this document and it is doing what it can to identify the form fields, and we'll see how well it does. If it was a simple form, like the one I showed you before, it works pretty well. If it's a complex form, you're probably going to have to do some cleanup on it. And it may break my computer altogether when I try to do this. I thought I'd experiment on y'all just to see how painful this process may be in order to figure it out. But we'll go back to the other one that was easy. So again, it's very much like that e-signature protocol that you can do with the forms. This again was a Word document, and I dragged it into this. It identified the fields, including checkboxes, click here to sign, dates, things like that. Now I can edit this to make these, if I wanted a drop down for the date. So that identified as a signature. So I would want to make some edits to this. See how it's doing over here. Still thinking about it. And you can select files from your computer or existing e-file templates. So we'll just do this. I'm just going to show you how to edit it. Again, I'm gonna do this bill of sale. And we're going to click next. So if I wanted to change this to a date field, then I select it and I go over here and under the drop down, look for the type of field that I want, or I can right click on this, click edit, and choose date and click OK. And now when someone fills it, it's going to give you a date field. And then this, it did not do a very good job of identifying the form fields, but that's probably my mistake for the way that I did it. And you can preview your web form. So now you can see that this automatically entered the date. So I need to do a date drop down. The form creation in Acrobat is not the easiest thing in the world to do. And it takes more time to demonstrate than I have, but just just to know that you can do this so that when you ask someone to fill out a form, they don't have to have Reader or a particular tool to do this because it creates it in the web for them. And then when you go into Acrobat in Home, you can see the files that you have. The generative AI tools, again, this is beta, this is new. I'm just now discovering what all you can do with it. Depends on the document that you have open, but you can ask questions of it, you can summarize, but note that there are limitations. Page limit is 120 pages. So if the document's longer than 120 pages, over 25 megabytes, it won't work. The language has to be English. The document shouldn't be scanned or represented as an image. So even if you run optical character recognition over a scanned document, this AI component is not probably going to work as well. If the document is password protected or has any usage restrictions, it won't work. So can't be a PDF portfolio. All in all, again, very beta, not all that useful at this point. That said, let me open up. All right, so this is a prime candidate for the AI. It's only a 9-page document. And so if I click on AI Assistant, it immediately creates a summary. This document is about the impact of AI, specifically generative AI in legal practice. And then I tried to tell it to run OCR, but it doesn't actually do that. So you go down here to this little box, and I'm going to tell it to draft an email. And it also makes suggestions. So what are the features of Dolly? Now, I can guarantee you, having been the person who wrote this document, that these are questions that may come from somewhere else, not this particular paper. So let's find out what happens when I click on what are the features of Dolly. So like all other artificial intelligence tools, aha, interesting. This is based on an LLM, but is really only looking at this document. The way I know is it because this document doesn't provide any information about the features of Dolly. Well, I guess that's comforting because it's not going to make something up or hallucinate, because in fact, this paper does not have any details about that. So what can it do? So let's say draft an email with a summary of this document. That's not all that helpful. But what I did find is it kind of knows what document you have. So we're going to go home, and I've got a transcript that I'm going to open up. And it seemed to do a better job. Again, this is beta. So this one is a transcript from an audio file that I generated in Microsoft Word. In Microsoft Word now you can upload an audio file and it will transcribe it for you. Here it knows, it identifies this as a transcript. So it says this document is a transcript of a video blog post discussing cybersecurity. So it does a pretty good job at a quick summary. Then provide a list of the 5 most important points. And it does a good job at that. Does a good job at that. You'll see that there are little citation links. If you click on that, it takes you to the part of the document that describes whatever the sentence says. That is nice because you can then go back and double check that this, in fact, is not making things up, that it's actually going through the document and identifying and showing you where specifically in this document it's creating the summary from. So that's actually useful. So this one, I'll try to draft an email. One thing that you always have to be aware of with most of this generative AI is that you can try it 1 minute and the next minute you try it and it does something different. This time it actually worked. So, dear client, I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to bring your attention to some important security measures. There's a summary of the key points. Then I can copy that and paste it into email. And again, you can go back and check its work and make sure that it's not just making something up. So that's kind of the AI assistant. It's not all that useful. That said, if you got a PDF with a whole lot of text and you just wanted to create a quick summary and ask questions of it, it works pretty well. And again, it doesn't seem to hallucinate. It doesn't seem to answer questions outside of what is in the document that you've pulled up. The other thing is that with your subscription, you get apps. And so 2 of the apps are the Acrobat app itself and Acrobat Scan. So when I used Acrobat Scan to scan a document that I had hanging around on my desk, it does a pretty good job and makes it pretty easy to, you just download the Adobe app, and then there's also the Adobe Scan app. And if you open up your Adobe Scan app, you identify whether you're going to try to scan a book or a whiteboard or a document or an ID card or a business card, and it kind of understands the formatting and layout of whatever it is. If you have a document and you put your document underneath it, you don't even have, if you get it all centered and everything, you don't even have to press the button to scan it. You can also tell it that you keep scanning. So if you have multiple pages, you just click keep scanning and then deliver each page. Once you've got it in here, then it shows you the document. You can comment, highlight. So you can do a lot on your phone or on a tablet with the apps. The other thing that I kind of thought was extra nifty is it automatically takes the scans from my phone and puts them in Acrobat for me. So if I go over into Acrobat again and I go to the home menu and you look under scans, then here's the scan I did from today, just seconds ago. Now, one thing is that this this is handwriting and it's not going to be able to recognize the text. In fact, this right here is a gum wrapper that's sitting on my desktop. But if you have a text document that you've scanned, it's already done some preliminary OCR. So if I select this text and right click, I can copy it and paste it somewhere else. So it's already run. Did the client see the citation numbers on, sorry, I'm just reading y'all's comments. Does the client see the citation number on their side? I have no idea because I haven't sent this out. And I'll put a test in when I send you all your follow-up email so we can see if it actually links to it. Because I created that email summary, ostensibly copying and pasting it. What I don't know is, does it send you a copy of the document, the full document? Is it just giving, so we'll test that out with y'all live. So again, you can export the selection, you can change, you can edit the text. It's not pretty, but you can do a good bit without having to go through a bunch of extra steps. Now, I will say if I want to run OCR over this document, I'm just going to type in OCR and tell it I want to recognize text. And then it pops up another little thing over here. Do I want to recognize text in all pages? What language? I'm going to click recognize text. When I do this, when I select the text and click edit text, you can see that that's already been pretty much done. So it didn't do a whole lot extra for me. One person asked me how to reduce file size. So this is me going back to old school. So I'm going to try just saying reduce file size. We'll save this. Somewhere random. And in the background, it has reduced the file size. And the way you can figure out whether or not it has actually reduced the file size is I'm going to the menu and I'm going to preferences, and then actually that's not what I want. Document properties, and under description, then it's going to show you the file size. So if you want to actually check and make sure that it's reduced the file size, you'd look at the file size, then go through and reduce it. The other place that this lives, which is why I said I was going old school, there's still a good bit under this menu. And so if I want to create a PDF from here, combine files, open recent ones, I guess they've taken this away. It used to have the reduce file right in this menu. But a lot of the stuff that I used to use all the time is here. So again, this interface is frankly abominable, especially if you've been using Acrobat for a long time. So that gets us to, browser extensions. So if you want to be able to do all of the things that you can do with Acrobat, either in the browser or the software, if you add the browser extensions for Edge or for Chrome, if I open a PDF on the internet from a web page, I can read aloud, I can move pages, I can do a lot more, but you do have to get the browser extensions. And then you can actually manipulate the PDFs that you open from the web. So that's pretty handy to do, and it's part of your subscription. So someone asked if I had talked about or was going to talk about alternatives. Absolutely. So what used to be called Kofax is now called Tungsten Automation, and their product, which is equal in almost every way to Acrobat, is $179 for a license. The only difference is there's no browser version, and it's a one-time cost per user per license for $179. There are other tools like Nitro Pro, Foxit, Qt. Again, these are licenses. These are not per user per month. So if you think, okay, I really just need to be able to redact files, you know, combine files, do those kinds of things, you can probably get away with just the Nitro or the Foxit or Qt PDF. If you need to send for signature, though, that's going to cost you more money. And of course, you can convert documents from Word and WordPerfect to PDF within the application. So that's not all that tricky. I wrote an article about the different alternatives, comparing and contrasting what they can do. So I'll let y'all read through that and figure out the three things that are going to be kind of the features and functions that you're going to want to make sure that are there if you need them is e-signatures and redaction and bait stamping. And those are the three things that are negotiable depending on these for these lower cost products. But again, depending on the practice management application you have, you may already have e-signing, or you might already have DocuSign, in which case I can't think of any particular reason you would need the full version of Acrobat. So it just kind of depends. Those are, again, e-signing, and now the web form and redaction and bait stamping are kind of the differences. Can you edit PDFs in Edge or Mac Preview? Depends on what you preview. You can, I believe, preview in Macs are pretty sophisticated in terms of functionality. The editing, I don't think you can edit PDFs in Microsoft Edge browser without getting the extension, which is part of the subscription. So I think the answer to that question is no. There is a native PDF handler in Edge, but I don't know if you can edit the documents. I haven't tried. So we're out of time. Hopefully this gives you a better sense of what we can do with this. And I will send you the recording and some articles and another video that has a longer tutorial about functions in Acrobat. But I am going to stop the recording, and then I'll let y'all ask me any questions you want.